You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Jello, and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast that is suitable for all jellies from 2 and everything in between jellies. I'm Tiernan, and hang on, did I say Jello or did I say Jello? Oh no. No. Sometimes all I want, listeners, is for this show to have a normal day without any sort of wobble. No, I didn't mean wobble. I meant wobble. Oh no, come on. You know, I've got a new app for finding out what this sort of thing is on my phone. What was it called again? Linda, do you remember what the new app was called, Linda? No, useless. I've got so many apps on my phone, it's very hard to remember which ones do what, but I know it's in here somewhere. No, that's the one that lets me know how close I am to a saucepan at all times, and luckily there aren't any nearby. No, that's the app for translating the word pickle into any language. Is it maybe this one? No, but this one is great. It takes a picture of your face, hang on, and then it swaps the photo for a picture of someone else's face entirely, so it doesn't look anything like you, because it isn't you, it's just someone else's photo. I look like someone called Roger Kneecaps, who's currently at work. Brilliant. That's my app for counting apps, which might be able to be used to find... There it is, my local What on Earth is Going On Near You app. Let me see. Yes, there it is. We're just having a minor jelly or jello quake. It's like an earthquake, but it's a bit more wobbly. It's not very dangerous, but it does mean you say jelly words a wibble, and you get wibbly more wobbles. And obviously here at CC4K Jelly Q, it means all of the jelly hippos get thrown about, which means extra wobbly smells, and the farting animals get shook about, so they jelly loads. That wobble might be the latest wobblings, or the lastest wobblings, in fact, if this app is right, and it usually jelly. So great, in which case, things are wobble, and I can just do the admin wibble, and then relax like a jelly. So, first wibbles, though, is mail wobbles, and this week I've been sent in this jelly from Liam James in Australia, who is 8 stinky hippos old, which I think, doing my calculations, means he is jelly years old in human years. And Liam James says, if there are age ratings on shows, then there should be emotion ratings as well. So if you feel sad already, you don't watch a sad movie, but watch a happy one to cheer yourself up. Now this is, Liam has put a question mark on there, and normally with questions, by jelly rights should be asked to a wobble expert. But, right, for a start, I don't think this is a question, I think this is a fantastic suggestion, and if you listeners might not remember, but Liam's brilliant suggestion is actually in response to a question on the show that we had just a couple of weeks ago, with Joshua Sieg Jelly, Joshua Jelly. So I thought I'd put Liam's suggestion in this bit while you all remember the question about why shows have age ratings, and also to give Liam a shout out for such a brilliant suggestion. Liam, I think emotion ratings is an absolutely amazing idea. But I think, like you mentioned, there would have to be some sort of special board of people who could limit how many of each type of shows you could watch each week, so you don't end up too happy or too miserable or too scared or too jelly or too ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, what if only all week you watch the silliest shows possible, and by the end of the week you're like, you really need a sad show to kind of calm you down. There also, I think, needs to be a kid emotion rating and a separate grown-up emotion rating, so that we can be warned when a Pixar film is going to have a sad bit that just makes grown-ups cry. So, thank you so much for sending that in, Liam, and it is a brilliant suggestion, but if you would like to send in another question that's to do with anything else, then I can add that right to the question pile for an expert to answer. So if you out there, yes, you would like to send in a jelly that needs to be answered, or you have anything else that you'd like to wobble, then please do get your mudbutt foozles, grown-ups, to help you jelly me at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. You can also reply to any wobble on the Spotify Q&A too, or review the show in any of the jellies that do that sort of a thing. If your grown-ups fancy helping support this show, then they can sign you up to the Linda edition, for a small fee on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Jelly Plus, Acast Plus. The Linda edition comes out one day early and is advert-free, meaning the only ad you'll hear is this one for my other podcast, Jelly or Jelly. Bust or Trust. Are you mystified by mysteries?
Or can you crack the craziest cases?
We're looking for chief detectives to join us on our investigations into some of the strangest stories from around the world.
We'll analyse aliens, look for the Loch Ness Monster and hunt out curses. We'll present you with the best evidence and the most interesting facts.
And then it'll be up to you to decide and tell us what you think.
Will you be a mythbuster like me?
Or a myth truster like me?
If you want to be our chief detective, join us on Bust or Trust, a kids' mystery podcast. Every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music and all other places you listen to podcasts.
Do go and check out that show too. It is silliness and mysteries and jelly. No, sorry, I mean no jelly, just jelly. Also, if you're hearing this on the Wednesday it's out, then you have just 1 week to enter the competition to win a copy of the very, very funny book, The Odd Squad, Rise of Invisidog by Stuart Heritage. All I need is your ideas for rubbish superheroes. You do have to email them in to podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. Don't put them on a review. Don't put them anywhere else, because I am going to have to ask you what your address is if you win and need to be sent a copy. The best 5 rubbish superhero ideas will win a copy of Rise of Invisidog. It is sadly only for listeners in the UK and Ireland, though, so I'm very, very sorry to the rest of the Jellyverse. The wobbling seems to be getting more wibblesome, so you need to listen to this most jelliest bit, and hopefully by the time it's done, there'll be no more wibble wobbling.
Hey Grandpa, here's the very last jelly food.
Back once again, it's Ben Van Der Velde, aka Ben, whose favourite currency is the Japanese yen, aka Benny V. Denny, the fastest mustard shaker in the West, or as all of our Morse code speaking listeners know you, boop boop boop, beep beep beep, beep 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 beep, beep beep beep, boop boop boop. Beep, 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 and then that again for about 3 hours. But of course, Ben, you are very well known for your lifelong mission to name and tag every single baked bean so that they can be recognised in an emergency, for your expert ability to know exactly when someone is about to sneeze and then ruin it for them, and most famously for your heroic efforts stopping giant monsters from destroying cities by just asking them to stop it and grow up. Ben, it's nice to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
Tiernan, it's an absolute delight to be here. I'm good. I'm quite tired because I've been in some high-level negotiations with Mothra, and they just went on for days. But I have managed to save the city of Kyoto from his evil grip.
That is amazing. Can I ask, because Mothra is, for listeners that don't know, Mothra is a big moth, right? It's a really big moth. Really big moth. Yeah, so did you just have to turn on like a lot of lights, or how did you deal with that?
Yeah, what we did is, obviously you'll know that in Japan there are a lot of volcanoes. So what we did is we got a glass blower to blow an enormous light bulb, and then we stuck it on top of a volcano that was about to erupt. Because obviously Mothra's a giant moth, you need a giant light bulb. And he went over to that and it incinerated him on it.
That's lovely.
Well, that was the threat. Yes, obviously, I do diplomatic negotiations.
Of course. Well, that's nice. Yeah, that's how you do these negotiations. You sort of say it's this or that. And I mean, did he demand? What do moths demand? A lot of willy jumpers to snack on.
Yeah, pretty much. He just wanted all of the charity shops in Japan to be handed over to him, and for them to prepare a 5-course tasting menu of different wools and materials. Fond of socks. You wouldn't think it. Yeah. He loves, because socks to Mothra are sort of like tapas, like finger food.
Right. And is that because socks have that amazing thing? They'll taste of wool, but they'll also taste a bit of cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's obviously not good in the vegan moth community because, wool is an animal product and there might be little bits of sheepskin on it, and cheese is also an animal product. So for them, you have to have vegan socks and vegan feet cheese.
Vegan feet cheese. So that would be, wow. I'm trying to, how would you make because I suppose for humans that are vegan, we can have feet cheese because it comes from human feet. So we're just having our own feet cheese.
But then you're being a cannibal. You're having your cannibalistic feet cheese, who are an incredible metal band.
Yeah, I love their work. Yeah, yeah.
I guess because like things like corn and soya, they're all from fungus and mushrooms. So you'd have to wait till the mushrooms get feet cheese, which
Right.
is going to take a
Right.
while for mushrooms to evolve feet.
So you'd have to have gone off mushrooms
Yes.
and then squish them down to make feet
Yeah.
cheese smells, and then you could have vegan feet cheese in your sandwiches, or on your
Yeah.
socks. I suppose you'd put it on your own socks. I don't really know how it would work.
I suppose, would you put on your own socks? No, you put on the socks that you're serving to vegan Mothra.
Yes, yes. That is correct. Yes, that is correct. I didn't realize Mothra was vegan. It sort of makes you think, because he's a big moth. He destroys cities, but you think, what's in it? Cities aren't particularly woolly. I suppose they're quite bright at times.
Well,
but-
no, the reason he's destroying them is because he's looking for the charity shops.
Right,
We all know
yes.
that there are vanishingly fewer of them. They're often difficult to locate. Often they sort of like move premises, and he's there just going, get out of the way, financial district. Get out of the way, entertainment
Yes.
district. Out of the way, ring road. I'll use you as a hula hoop. And that's why he's so angry, because he can't find the charity shops where the socks and the woolly jumpers are.
It makes so. Yeah, see, this is why it's so useful speaking to you, Ben, because I think I did that very ignorant thing of I just saw a big, massive moth causing destruction. I thought, well, obviously he's just not very nice. But there you are. You've given him reason. You've made him seem compassionate, and who hasn't been desperate to find a charity shop, and got quite angry and pushed over some buildings because of it.
Well, that's it. To defeat giant moth, first you must become giant moth. And I
Yes.
spent a lot of time living with the giant moth community,
Right.
and I came to understand them. Did you know that moths have 67 words for "Oh, isn't it bright"?
Wow. That's so. Is that to do with the different levels of brightness, or the level of surprise at how bright? What do they change it to do with?
Well, it's to do. It's the luminosity,
Right.
which is a really pleasing word to say.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Of the bulb. It's whether it's one candle or one lumen. That's real science, listeners.
Wow.
One lumen, or whether it's like a candelabra, which is, I don't know, 20 lumens, or whether it is Taylor Swift's personality, which is 1,000 lumens.
Wow. She must be covered in moths. All times.
Covered in moths.
I think that's
That's why she wrote the song "Shake It Off."
Of course, yeah. Always shaking off those moths. That explains a lot. That explains it. Wow. It's so, again, these facts and these things make the world just so much clearer when you put them like that. That's fantastic. I was going to say, well, I'm now really curious about Taylor Swift and just how many of her songs, and how maybe she's always on tour to get away from moths. There's probably a lot of her dance moves are designed to swat a moth away. I think it makes a lot more sense now that I think about it. But I was going to ask about like those like environmentally friendly bulbs, which they nearly all are now, but they start dim and then they get brighter, and that has got to make moths go, what?
Yeah, well, that is the equivalent to moths of a pint of Guinness for mums and dads, because
Right.
I don't know if you know this, listeners. Like, if your mum and dad ever goes to the pub, if they have a pint of beer, they just pour the pint, then your mum and dad drink the pint, and it's nice. But Guinness is a very special black and white drink where they pour 3/4 of it, and then they wait and they read a book and they write a poem and they meditate for 3.5 hours, and then they go for a run and do their shopping. And eventually, 3 days later, they come back and they pour the other quarter of a pint of Guinness. And its motto is "Good things come to those who wait."
Yeah.
And what you'll notice there, Tiernan, is that little joke required so much explanation, and that is a sign of quite how good it is.
But that is. But I think also because there are many reasons why our listeners shouldn't be allowed Guinness, and I think that's because it's an alcoholic drink. It's for grown-ups, but also because I think anyone under 30 is too impatient to wait for it, and you need things quicker, and so it's just you haven't got the time.
You haven't got the time, and obviously you're right. Our listeners shouldn't drink Guinness, but a fun fact with Guinness is that Guinness is absolutely full of iron. So in the past, it used to be prescribed to pregnant women to make sure that they had enough iron in them. But also it means when your mums and dads, if they ever drink Guinness, you can tell because whenever they bring it to their lips, it just goes clang, clang, clang.
And then you can use a magnet to sort of trap them as well.
Yeah.
You're like...
Yes. Well, yeah, the barman puts the pint of Guinness down on the bar top and you just at the end with an electromagnet and off it goes. I swear that was my pint.
Great idea. We're giving kids such useful information. Well, I mean, so you've explained the energy saving bulbs are like Guinness to moth because they wait and they get the reward at the end. Ben, this is fascinating. Really fascinating.
Well, they sort of sit there waiting for it and they're like, oh, we've got to pass the time. What should we do to pass the time? Let's do some knitting. Obviously, it's really difficult knitting when you're a moth because you knit and then you're like, oh, dinner. And so it's sort of like the Lady and the Tramp when they're showing the spaghetti that they're nutting with one set of hands, but the other bit of the wool's just going in their mouth.
That sounds good. That sounds fun, actually. I'd enjoy knitting a lot more if I could knit with actual spaghetti.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
But the thing with spaghetti is it's got to be lubricated. You can't have dry spaghetti. So would you lubricate it with olive oil or with butter while you're knitting it? But then if it's lubricated, it's hard to keep it on the knitting needle.
Oh, that's so hard. Must be why no one knits with spaghetti. I hadn't put the two and two together like that. This must be why when you order spaghetti, it doesn't come in scarf shape.
No, but it does come in bow tie shape. So, the little Italian manners can do that sometimes. They can do it to the farfalle, as it is called.
That's true. I've never seen anyone wear a pasta bow tie, which I always feel a bit sad about. Because I always think some people would look really sort of natty with a little pasta bow tie. But nobody ever does that.
But it's hamster sized, isn't it? So what you need to do is if you've got two pet hamsters is put little pasta bow ties on them, give them a little stick and it'll look like they're playing snooker.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. And try and think what small sticks. Well, I suppose you could use a dried spaghetti as a stick.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Or you can get the little the conchiglie, which are the shells, and you can put them to the ear of your hamster, and your hamster will go, "Oh, it sounds like the sea," and the other hamster will go, "What's the sea?" And the first hamster will go, "I've got no idea. We are desert-based creatures."
Well, hang on, but I want to because seashells. You can hear the sea because they've been in it and they keep a bit.
Remember.
I'm sure that's the science. That's it. They remember the sounds of the sea. And the little pasta shells, are you sure they're going to sound in the sea or are they going to sound like bubbling tomato sauce? Or, you might get a sound that they recognise.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like, what is the sound of that's marinara? Delicious.
It's a shame they're too small to hold up to your ear, really. Otherwise, I think we'd all just be able to listen to the sounds of lovely pasta sauces.
Oh, that is like the ultimate ASMR for foodies, isn't it? Just at home, because actually you could get two and connect them with a pipe cleaner and wear them like headphones and just be chilling out, listening to the sound of bubbling pasta sauce.
Ben, there is a whole world here. We've already established two items. Pasta clothing is long overdue. We are.
It really is.
There's two things. We've got pasta headphones, pasta bow ties, technically pasta snooker cues, not clothing, but we throw them in as an accessory.
Yeah, you've got lasagna sheets as well, which you can just heat them gently and use it as a small blanket for your hamster.
Oh, that's nice.
Or sew them together into various sheets and make a pasta suit for yourself.
That's lovely. And I think also the little tubes you could put on their arms and legs and then they're like robots. They look like a little robot hamster.
Well, either that or because the nice long thin tubes is you could sort of cut the pointy bits off the end, so make it a cylinder, paint it black, put it on its head, and turn it into an Abraham Lincoln hamster.
That's also with the bow tie as well. That's a lovely look, and you can then the spaghetti cube becomes a little cane, and they can do a little dance routine.
Perfect. Is Abraham Lincoln famed for his dance routines?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That was the main thing. He was. That's why they had to. The big statue of him is in a chair, because if they did one standing up, it wouldn't stop moving. That was the problem. That's what I heard anyway. I hear these things, so it must be true. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's how it works. Well, Ben, I mean, it's a fascinating explanation. It's so interesting to dive into your monster negotiating life, which I know you do a lot of work on. What I did want to ask: are there any large monsters you actually really? I mean, maybe you like all of them, but I didn't know if you had any favourites.
Any favourites? I quite like a monster called Scylla. Not as in Cilla Black for the mums, dads, and granddads, but spelled Scylla, and she is a water-based monster with like extra dog heads, and
Wow.
she's sort of like an evil mermaid, but then with several extra heads that are often like dogs or wolves, and she's super cool.
Wow, and she's all right to negotiate with then, is she? She's
Well, yeah, because you just go here, boy, and then you throw a stick, and then the dogs just get distracted, and you're like, if you do what I say, then I will stop throwing sticks for your sea dogs.
That's great. I mean, she would be ideal for like a dog walker who normally has to deal with 5 or 6 different dogs with their own different heads, but they could walk
Yes,
5 or 6 different dogs, but just with one body in one go. Do you know what I mean? That's like a lazy dog walker's dream.
yeah, exactly. She's very efficient as a monster. She's just all your
Yeah,
monster needs condensed into one person.
that's great. Oh well done her. I knew there were some monsters out there trying their
Yeah,
best, and
she's a
I
good one. I like a Cyclops as well. They're pretty good.
yeah. I like a Cyclops too. I always feel like they're angry because they can't find sunglasses that work, because like they only need the one half of it, but then the other half sort of dangles off to the side. Like it must be annoying.
Well, yeah, well, because you never see a monocle sunglasses, do you?
No,
Well,
no.
well, and also with them, now the problem for a Cyclops is the ordering's like, what would you like? I'd like a sunglass, please. Do you not mean sunglasses?
Yeah.
No, one eye. I need a sunglass. Do you not mean sunglasses? No, no, no. A sunglass. You want a glass made of sun? No, I need tinted glass for my eye.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. And then they get annoyed, and then they break stuff, and I get
yeah,
that. I get
and then they
that.
ride off on their giant unicycle.
Do you think that because they've only got the one eye, they can only use things that only have one wheel and one? Is
Yeah,
that how it works? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. They've got a unibrow. They shop at Uniqlo.
Yes,
Um,
yes. Of course, they like unicorns. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Well, they do like unicorns, but like this is I can't remember which brilliant comedian that this joke is quoted from, but Cyclops and a unicorn in a room is an accident waiting to happen.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, wow, wow. Yeah, that's a horrible thought, actually. Poor Cyclops.
Poor
Horrible
Cyclops.
unicorn. Everyone likes unicorns, but they're just dangerous, really. Like,
Yeah, they are.
just big old spike on your head. That's not
Well,
safe.
well, what you need to do, you need to make sure there's a cork on the end of it because
Mm,
Cyclopses are pretty big, so they can just open a bottle of wine and then take the cork, pop it on the end of a
pop it on the
unicorn,
yes.
and then that
Yeah.
unicorn will sort of look like a pencil with a rubber. And
Oh,
then
that's
what
good.
you do is you dip the tail in paint, and then you can paint with the tail. And if you don't like it, you can rub it out with the cork.
That makes so much more sense. Unicorns are suddenly much nicer now. You can use them as a stationary
Yeah,
accessory. That's lovely.
yeah.
Ben, it's such valuable information, Ben. Thank you. I'm so pleased that you're able to come back on the show with this expertise for our listeners yet again. And obviously, I've got a question that's been sent in by a listener that I know you are the person that can answer it, and that's why I've called on you.
Happy
But
to do
before we
it.
get there, well, thank you. I'm so grateful. But before we get there, I've got some admin questions. How do you feel about some admin questions?
Mate, it is. We're recording this at 11:30 on a Wednesday morning. I love admin. It's what I'm here for, mate.
Yes, yes, excellent, excellent, good. If you want, I can just only ask. We can do like 400 admin questions and ignore
Great.
everything else. Yeah, perfect, great. Well, here you go. Here's the first admin question, which is just, what is this?
What is this?
Mm.
Oh, that's a deep question.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
it's very deep. This is what I mean. What this appears to be is something that has made my brain malfunction. It's what's happened here.
Well, that's why I had to ask you what it was, because it's been bothering me. It's been tickling my ears and stopping me thinking all morning. And
it's an ear tickler in that case.
Oh, right. But it's not meant to go to your brain, is it? Because that's what's been worrying me.
Yeah. Well, no, it's meant to be, because what it is, it's a question that is a brain tickler, but it's also an ear tickler. It's just. Yeah, it's like, because I don't know, as a dad, I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. If I don't know what to do with my children, if my children are like, Daddy, I'm bored, I'm like, well, then it's tickling time.
Yes.
And clearly, what is this is the question your brain asks when you just leave it in neutral, and it is your brain just going, oh, gonna tickle you, oh, gonna tickle your brain in your ears.
That's clever, isn't it? It's such a shame, really, that you can't really just go and tickle people you don't know. But sometimes I think the default, sometimes people get quite bored, and it's one of those things you can only do as a parent, and your kids go, I'm bored, right? Tickle time. But actually, a lot of people get bored all the time. There should be honestly, professional ticklers out there who are Mr. Tickle in the Mr. Men. That sort of someone who's allowed and has a card and is qualified to tickle and could just cheer people up when they're very bored. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, just sort of going around, just kind of like, hello, sir, it is the 3 p.m. tickle inspection. How are you feeling? Bit dull, or tickle.
Yeah, that's it.
Or alternatively, you have your own tickle quota for a year. So every person is allowed to tickle a stranger 5 times a year. And I think it'd be really good if, like, a really boring event, like Prime Minister's questions, when there are 2 boring grey men and go, I'd say to you that the ironworks in Cheltenham needs to be shut up, and I say to you that it is not tickle.
Yes,
it would really help.
It would make everything so much more fun. And I think while it would probably bring some jeopardy, I'd quite like the Olympics if just as somebody's about to get a really big javelin throw, ticky under the arms, and
also people are saying, are we ever going to run faster than Usain Bolt's 9.58 seconds in the 100 meters? You stick a couple of ticklers behind a Jamaican sprinter going tickle.
Yes.
It'll do it in 7 seconds.
Of course. A lot of people would run pretty fast. Yeah, it's a great idea. I like this. I think I'll send it to Parliament, and I'm sure they'll approve.
And they will pass the Tickling Act.
I think so. I hope so. Well, thank you, Ben. That was bothering me, and I appreciate you answering that question.
Cool. So what this is a push for constitutional change.
Yes,
do you know what? Because British people say that we have the greatest sense of humour, and if that's true, then when the King was coronated last year, there should have been a small bit where the Archbishop of Canterbury just gave him a little tickle under the chin. Who's a good Charlie? Who's a good Charlie?
Well, and also because if we had the best sense of humour, instead of playing the national anthem with a big brass band, we should have done it with raspberries. That would be funny, but I sometimes feel we don't do it properly enough. This sense of humor.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I've got this second admin question I do have to ask you, Ben. This is very important, this one. So I hope, if you need to take time on this one, I do understand. It's quite big, actually. It's quite big, this one. But Ben, I just wondered, would you rather that without warning your legs and arms would suddenly inflate like balloons, or that even though you knew it was there, your body was invisible to everyone you met, so they thought you were just a floating head?
So I've got to sort of get some clarifications on this. With the inflating legs and arms, that is it just happens once, and then I have to go around and float it with inflated legs and arms, or just at any point during the day, my legs and arms can inflate and then deflate slowly.
I think it's the latter. I think they just it could just happen quite a lot whenever you're not expecting it. I don't know how much they inflate. I don't know if you would float off like a balloon, or if you would just have sort of big, just big puffy arms and legs. I don't know. Okay, so it's not. So they're inflated, but they may not be full of helium. No, they may not be. No.
So I'd use them normally, but I just have giant sausage legs and fingers.
Yes, huge.
Yes, just all of me. Just my legs and arms would be sausages, and hands and feet as well, chipolatas.
It only says legs and arms, so
Okay, legs-
you might
okay,
be
so
more like,
legs and
I
arms.
imagine a bit like Popeye the Sailor Man, who just get really huge forearms
Oh.
and you know,
And do they get stronger, or is it just aesthetic? Are they just big?
I think if they inflate like balloons, it's not strength, is it? Because it's just full of air.
It's just, oh yes, it's just, so I've got airy arms and legs,
Yeah,
but not
yeah.
hands and feet. Body's normal, head's normal. Or my body is invisible but still there, so my head doesn't get to go higher or lower or float around. It's just that no one can
it's
see
still
my
there,
body.
but no one can see your body, so they think you're a floating head, which obviously has its plus points. Like if you did a fart, everyone would think, well, he doesn't have a bum, it can't be him. That's
Yeah,
quite useful. But
yeah.
also, everyone would go, it's a floating head.
Yeah, well, but then the problem is they'd go, it's a floating head. And I'd have to go, no, don't worry. It's just that I've got an invisible body. And then they go, but hang on, that doesn't mean you have invisible clothes, because which means that if you're like you are now, then you are naked. And that's not good to walk around naked. So in order for that to be effective, I'd have to be both a person with an invisible body and walk around naked everywhere, which is broadly speaking not cool.
No, it's not cool. It's
So
not cool at all, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about the invisible clothes bit.
yeah. So if I have an invisible body with invisible clothes, or does clothes become invisible when I put them on?
I mean, it doesn't specify. I'm just reading you the question as the official question is. It doesn't
Okay.
specify, so I think you could probably just, hope for the best that you are allowed to wear invisible clothes as well.
So
I
on the
don't know how
one
you
side,
put them on, or
if
see
you
if
were
they
a
fit.
head, oh gosh, yeah, that's very tricky. But if you were the person with the invisible body, then it adds a whole new level of jeopardy to enforcing the tickling act. Because
Yeah.
who's tickling me? No, not me.
Yeah, I've got no arms. Yeah.
Yes, whereas the inflated arms and legs, I feel like that would compromise my tickling ability, because I feel like, particularly as I was tickling, my bicep would chafe against my upper body, and in my head, my inflated arms have turned to like whatever balloons are made out of. So I'd be tickling, and
Yes.
you'd hear.
Do you know what though? Like, I think what you have to think about is if you were at a bouncy castle and then you became part bouncy castle as well, how like legendary that would be. Like, I feel like inflatable would be fun. Like, I feel like every time it happened, you'd almost want there to be like a like kind of music behind you.
Yeah, I feel like, you know what? I know what I would do. I would spend ages bouncing my inflated arms off my inflated legs, and then sort of bouncing my inflated arms off each other.
Yes.
That would
Yeah.
be
See, that sounds great.
yeah. I think you've won me over. I think invisible body, not for me. Inflated arms and legs, because you don't know when it's going to happen. You're like, oh, it's party time.
Yeah.
Not ideal in bed, but.
Yes, because you'd sort of you'd end up bashing all the pillows off. And yeah, I mean the other thing that I suppose we haven't questioned is that the clothes you'd have to wear would have to have really really baggy bits on the arms and legs.
Oh, you'd have to wear those old 90s Kappa tracksuit trousers with Velcro down
really
the
baggy,
side.
like MC Hammer trousers. Yeah.
Yeah. Or also tricky in the bath. If you're like, I'm a lovely bath, and then suddenly your arms and legs inflated, you're like, oh, I've turned into a human lilo.
Well, tricky in the bath, but brilliant in a swimming pool or the sea.
Yes, because you can just float away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to work out what would happen in a sauna. I don't know, but I don't think it would be good.
No, maybe avoid that. I mean, I still think you're right, though. I still think less trouble than if you were just if you had an invisible body. I think it's a hard one, but I think you've weighed up the options.
Yes. And in conclusion, neither.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, I can't. That's not an illegal move, I'm afraid.
Oh no. Okay, fine. I will accept my fine from the county council in that case.
Okay, that's fair. It'll come a tickling order, and you have to deal with that. Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you for dealing with the admin questions. Now I've had this question sent in. This is the important bit. This question has come in from a bit like you're an expert in negotiating with monsters. This question has come from Rhino Expert 3000. I assume that they are the 3000th expert in rhinos. That might be that's their code number. I don't really know what the 3000 stands for, but I'm assuming they were the 3000th person to get their rhino expertise certificate.
Well, either that or it makes me think that they're like a robot or rhino
Oh.
expert AI. And, because it's difficult work out on the savannah trying to help out rhinos. And so instead, there's like Chat GPT for rhinos. And all you've got is a bot has sent in a question.
Oh no. Okay, but I suppose it's quite a good question. So I don't know. Do we embrace the future? Do we respond to this bot or
Yeah. No, we should be respectful of our future robot overlords.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that is fine. I mean, I suppose the only other option is that they are from the year 3000. They have travelled back in time as a rhino expert. Maybe in the future, rhinos rule everything, and they are somebody who can communicate with them. And they've travelled back in time to ask a question that perhaps isn't allowed to be asked in the year 3000.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's
hard very hard to know. But listen, it's a good question though. It's a good question. I think you'll like this question, Ben. I think it's very much
okay. Go for it.
Your area of expertise. So they have asked, Rhino Expert 3000 had asked, do noses smell or do they smell?
Oh, we're back in what is this territory? This is deep.
It's very deep.
Oh,
it's very deep.
No. Okay.
Nose. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think of separate spelling. It's spelled as in the thing in your face, not as in KNOWS, because that's a whole different.
Yeah, that is different. No. This is spelled nose as in your face nose.
Your face nose.
Yeah, I don't know
your face nose is compared to your bum nose or your foot
bum
nose.
nose or your elbow nose. Yeah, that's right.
Imagine having a bum nose. Like, what's that? Oh no.
That bum nose would smell and would smell. That would be an easy answer to that question.
Easy. Yeah. So your nose definitely smells. It can smell. It knows how to smell. But the only thing is you can't smell your own nose. I can smell because I'm going to breathe in. So obviously I'm breathing in the air around my nose, and I can feel the air going into my sinuses. But that means I can smell the inside of my head. I know what the inside of my head smells like, but I can't smell my nose. But I could smell your nose. I could tell you what your nose smells like, and you could tell me what my nose smells like.
Okay. I mean, do we risk that? Is that dangerous to do? I don't know.
Well, no, it's fine. As long as we don't go nostril to nostril and breathe in at the same time, because then our heads would fuse.
Yes, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. And then we'd be probably really angry, start destroying cities. You'd have to negotiate with yourself.
Oh, it'd be impossible. Well, it's either you can get conjoined nose twins either from breathing at the same time, or because we are men of a certain age, our nostril hairs would intertwine like Velcro. No. And you'd have to either gently tease us apart or just go rip, and then
that'd be awful.
It would be awful.
Painful,
it really would. It's making my eyes water just thinking about it.
It's terrible. Nose hairs are terrible things. But then sometimes I do think, what if you let them grow long enough, you just turn them into a moustache? Would that happen? Is that how it works?
Nice. Could do. Yeah. You'd have to cultivate a lot of them.
You'd have to get a lot of nose hairs. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, look at that guy. He's got a greasy moustache with tiny little green pearls in it.
Yeah, that was the problem. It'd be a snotty moustache, which would be disgusting. Well, hang on. Which makes me think, does snot smell? Because when your nose is full of bogies, you can't I don't sniff in and go, oh, it smells of bogies.
If we're gonna get granular here, and we absolutely are, if I've got a blocked nose on a good day and I sniff in, I don't so much enjoy the smell or the taste, but the texture. That's what I'm talking about. I swear there is no human, because sometimes we all do, we sniff in and we go, oh, it's a bit gloopy. Oh, it's a bit like I've got a throat sweet. Occasionally be like, oh, there's a hard bit. Oh, I wonder what that is. Did I accidentally sniff a crisp too hard and it's been stuck in my... I don't mean to get granular on it, but sometimes if you've got a snotty nose and you do a big breathe in and all the snot goes in, I don't think about the smell. I don't think about the taste. I think about the texture, and it's sort of It's like someone's melted down some Play-Doh, mixed in with a bit of jelly, and like some old Starburst. And like, Oh, and there's a little bit of melted cheese about it as well. And every now and again, you're like, oh, a hard bit. What's that? I don't remember. Did I snort some Pringles the other day? I forgot about it.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing. So even if your nose can't smell your nose, it's got other senses. It's got the sense of touch.
Yes, it does, because you have skin on the inside of your nose. So when you're smelling, are you smelling or are you actually feeling with your nose skin?
Oh my goodness, this is really deep. I had no idea.
And it's
You say we can no longer say, "Oh, that smells bad." We should say, "That feels bad through my nose skin."
Yeah.
My nose skin thinks that feels delicious. That's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, we are nothing if not slaves to accuracy and specificity, and so that's what you have to do. Yeah. Well, also, although isn't it, Tony? Isn't the way you smell like your nose hairs quiver, and they feel like bits of smell molecule make your nose hairs wobble about.
Hang on a minute. So, hang on. To go back, nose hair moustache. If you had a big nose hair moustache, or even a nose hair beard, if you could grow it that big, you'd be able to smell for miles.
Oh, that's such a good point. You'd be there and you're like, Tiernan, why are you stroking your nose hair beard? Because 5 miles away, there are donuts.
Yes. It'd be like a superpower. Yeah.
It would.
Amazing.
I love it. Captain Nose Hair. Or, if he was German, Hair Nose Hair.
Oh, which is a great name.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great name. Yeah, fantastic. Wow. Well, it's things to aspire to. I suppose we should smell each other's noses. Is that okay to do that?
Yes. Thank you for asking consent. I guess we now lean in and have a sniff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Lean right in. Yeah. And
okay. What are you getting from mine?
Sort of casserole.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about me?
Yours mostly Scotch egg.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So it does smell. So the nose does smell.
Yeah.
But perhaps it doesn't smell because it feels things with its nose skin.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if what actually happened when I leaned into. I've got very clever nose hairs. When I leaned in to smell Tiernan's nose, my nose hairs actually dropped down like tiny little octopuses and just danced over the top of his nose and then retracted back into my head.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
Very impressive. Whereas when I smelt yours, my inner nose hairs sort of tapped their computer and analysed. They broke down all the smells on their little nose hair tablets and worked it out. And the smell they came up with that was most similar was casserole. But
casserole.
It's a nice casserole because it's casserole. That was it. Well, wow, Ben, I feel like we've discovered new science. We've discovered a lot of new science today.
We have.
Actually.
Well, we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have covered a lot. And I hope the listeners, are inspired to go out and do science based on our science of nose, skin, hair, feeling things. So I think the world's about to change. And if nothing else, I hope at least pasta fashion will be in spring.
Oh gosh, I hope so. I really hope so. In tiny little rodent boutiques everywhere.
Oh, we can only hope. Well, listen, thank you, Ben. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. Thank you for your expertise. Have you got big things coming up? I suppose monsters are big things, and so you've always got big things coming up.
I always, wherever I hear large footsteps, there I shall follow. Like, is that the sound of a size 257? My help is needed.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck to you with it all. Keep negotiating with those big guys,
I will do.
Gals, and big and dog heads, and hopefully we will have you back very soon.
I look forward to it.
You're right. It is really wild.
Big thanks to Ben Van Der Velde for taking time away for helping deal with awfully big monsters to instead answer Rhino Expert 3000's very important question. Rhino Expert 3000, I do hope you liked your answer, and if not, please leave any complaints you have on a tall building in Tokyo so Godzilla can destroy them and I never have to see it. If you have any questions you need to have answered on this show, please do ask your mud-butted foozles, sorry, I mean grown-ups, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk, or reply on the Spotify Q&A, or leave a review for this show wherever reviews are allowed. If your grown-ups also want to help support this show to happen, they can sign you up to the Linda edition for a small monthly fee on Apple, Acast Plus or Patreon. Do also check out comedyclubforkids.co.uk, as well as my other podcast, Bust or Trust. And don't forget to enter our brilliant Invisidog competition too. Wow, I got through all of that with no wobbles. The jelly quake must now be over. Let me just check. Yeah, there you go. My app says that it's all passed and it should be clear for 2 seconds. Why only 2 seconds? There's an incoming saucepan storm. What even is that? I've never even heard of that at all. How is that? Uh-oh, my saucepan detection app says it is very, very close. I'd better put my suit of armour on. Bye! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.